Have you ever thought about what it takes to get a star performer to a venue? Who oversees from that first note to the last, manages the scheduling, books the hotel, transportation, wardrobe. Nothing can be out of place. From the lighting, sound, security, props, and band setup, making sure everything is on point for your intimate listening enjoyment. It is that one important person who's responsible for making sure the artist arrives at the venue and makes that concert happen. It is that unknown, behind the scenes, unrecognized face no one ever sees until now.
This is what I do. You know, it's not, you can't do everything in one phone call. You cannot advance a date with just one phone call. Yeah. There's so many moving parts to it. You know, you talk to the promoter about one thing, and then you have to talk to someone about the transportation. You talk about the hotels and so forth, the airlines to deal with. Then you have to make sure that everybody gets from point A to point B on time.
Yeah, but as far as the bus is concerned, when we get ready to travel by bus, I contact Lene. She's been with us for quite some time, and she's fantastic. She requisitioned our buses all over the world, actually. And she's been doing it for us now. She's been working with us for like maybe 10, 15 years, I think, something like that. She's very good.
Okay, so that'd be perfect. So you'll send me the driver's information, get the driver's my contact, and then we can hook up.
Yes.
Right, good.
And that's the Hyatt Regency on Ryan Mar.
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
Chicago Airport, right. So if the flight changes, I make a phone call, and depending on how far the bus is away from us, usually maybe an hour, they'll get there, we get on the bus, and we still make that journey.
This is my favorite mode of transportation. Flying is okay, but when you got a gig the next day and you got absolutely positively have to be there, this is what you want, because it gets you there. We travel at night, less traffic, we make up mileage during the night. This is what you want when you absolutely positively have to be there. First of all, I thank everybody for getting ready at the last minute, because as you know, the airlines over at Chicago Airport, right, is having some problems, so we won't be able to fly out in the morning. At least we don't think we will. So instead of taking a chance on that, then what we're going to do, we're going to take a bus tonight out of here, and we're going into Minneapolis tonight. So I want to thank everybody for your understanding on that part of it. Okay? Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much.
I don't understand that.
And of course, my boss here, okay? My boss here. My boss is on top of it though, because he called me this morning, man, early. He said, Earl, what about the flights tonight, man, tomorrow? Are we going to be able to get out here? Because he's been watching television. I said, yeah, Smoke, we're going to be able to get out here, no doubt about it, man, you know what I mean? But he's on it. And the one thing I want to tell you about my boss too, about Smokey, since I've been with him, Smokey is at every sound check. Every sound check. I know very few artists that comes to sound check, period, let alone every sound check. You know what I mean? And I love that about him, man. I really do. You know what I mean? So I want you to know that.
But you're in charge of this whole setup, the way that where the microphones are, the drummer is,
yeah.
the keyboards and everything,
yeah.
The bass players.
Right, all of that. But what we have is what we call a rider, which the rider explains is what we send to a venue before we go. The rider explains everything that we need. Explains all of the mics we need, where they need to be. There's a schematic of the whole entire setup. And then our production manager, I'm going to introduce you, Bryant French, he's the one that contact them just to make sure that the rider is being adhered to.
Okay.
He's the person and then the lighting director, he's the one that comes in, and in that schematic shows what the lighting and what our lighting needs are. He's the person that converses with the venue to make sure that when we come in, everything is set. Then we got the house sound, the sound that you hear in the house when the show is going on. Then we have him, that's Casey. What he does, he comes in and does the same thing. He just makes sure what you hear in the audience, there are no squeaks or nothing like that. But those three people are really responsible for the production. I'm responsible for the whole and everything, the production, the travel, the everything. But each person have their own job to do.
My name is Bryant French. I'm the production manager for Smokey Robinson. I've been with Smokey for 18 years now, 18, 19 years now. I've known Earl the entire time. Earl and I have worked closely together with Smokey on the road, mixing shows, and he's a great guy to work with, for sure.
Hi, I'm Demetrius Pappas. I'm Smokey's musical director. I'm responsible for all the music that gets played on the stage or in rehearsal. I also am sort of a librarian for the Smokey Robinson music book. Take care of all the music and also have to train whatever subs that we might have if musician subs out. Have rehearsals with the sub and train them on the show so that they'll do a good job during the performance. And I conduct the band while I'm on stage and do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I've known Smokey since 1990. I started subbing on the band then. And of course, when I met Smokey, I met Earl. And Earl's always been a really good contact to have as far as getting me into the band and throwing me as much work as possible. And in 2004 is when I got the full-time job with Smokey. And 2008 is when I became his musical director.
Hi, my name is Casey Carrier, front of house engineer. Basically control what the audience hears. It's a very thankless job, and if I do my job right, no one even knows that I exist. But you know, it's also a very rewarding job. It's very creative, and I enjoy it. Don't want to do anything else. My relationship with Earl is pretty limited because we don't interact that much because I deal mostly with Bryant on the production side. But the good thing about Earl, I should say the great thing about Earl, when there's a problem, it gets solved. He's got everyone's back. He's very understanding, very compassionate man, and I think I've known him for 8 years. I've been with the camp for 8 years, and probably call him a friend of mine.
Earl, after a show, whose job is it that cleans up takes the wardrobe and gets them clean for the next show?
We have one of our personnel, Serena Henry, one of our singers. She takes care of all of the cleaning of the Smokey stuff, all of the cleaning for the wardrobe.
Have you showed up at a venue and the wardrobe hasn't been there?
Oh yeah, that has happened several times.
So what do you do in a situation like that?
Well, I do it myself. I've done it. You know, the bottom line is to get the job done. I depend on Earl. I depend on me. Right. Yeah, I don't depend on people to do things for me. I may ask them, and if they do it, all well and good. But if they don't, I just jump in and do it myself. You know what I mean? Because then I know it's done, and I know it's done right. This doesn't happen that often, but every once in a while, this happens where we forget something at the hotel and then have to go back to get it prior to the show. Fortunately, we are not that far from the venue. The hotel isn't far from the venue, so today, it doesn't take very long to go back and get what we need. But that happens sometimes. That's part of the course, you know what I mean?
Earl, has Smokey ever been on a venue, have to go to a venue without you for any reason? Have you been sick or something like that? Whereas he had to depend on the driver or someone else doing your job?
The only time that I can think of is when I broke my ankle. And that's a funny story too, because we were at a venue. I think it was in New York, in the Bronx, someplace we were playing. And the gates were locked. We came up by bus, the gate was locked. So what I did is that I thought I would climb over the gate and open the gate from the inside so the bus can get in, because there was no one around the gate, right? So I climbed up on the fence, opened the gate, but then when I jumped down from the gate, broke my left ankle, you know what I mean? And it was just one of those things. But see, I don't know, I'm just the type person, man, I just believe in as long as the job get done. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And sometimes to my own
Whatever
fault.
it takes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's to my own fault. But that's the only time that I can think of that I broke my ankle, and I was out for, I guess, for about maybe a couple of weeks or so. I did most of my advancing from my office, but I just didn't go on the road, you know, with him for about a couple of weeks or so. But that's the only time that I can think of. Every other time I've been here, you know, at that point. Oh, so this is Rob Hill, one of my best friends. And Rob Hill and I have been working together now for over 30 years. Rob is with William Morris, and we've been together for a long. We've been through a lot in the past 30 years, trust me on that.
So this is a special night for me because Smokey Robinson and Greek Theater, of course, so that's always special. But it's so nice to be part of Earl's tribute because we've grown up together.
Yes,
and we have been brothers together, and we've taught each other, and we've worked together, and people think in Earl's craft and his job that the tour manager just brings people into hotels and stuff, but he's not only taking care of Smokey, he's taking care of everybody from point A to point B and all the problems in between and all the people that don't belong where they want to go. And they say, where's Earl? Where's Earl? And there's Earl. Because Earl got to take care of all of it. He's done it so wonderfully for 30 years.
Wow.
It's amazing that we go back that many years and that we have the ability to just share that feeling of brotherhood, and the most important thing, share the feeling of trust.
Exactly.
Okay?
That's amazing.
So we've been in and out of different people, different relationships, different agencies, and different, but we've always stayed the same in current because we believe in each other and we trust each other.
Exactly. And I have learned so much from this man. When I first started working, Will Morris was our agent, and I would call Rob up, I'm trying to feel my way through things. And I've learned so much from this man. He taught me everything that I know. Well, my start from Motown, actually I was just discharged from the military, from the Air Force. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in my life. So I wanted to get a job so that I have time to sort that out. So I went to the VA and I got a job working for the Veterans Administration in Westwood. Right. And so I worked there, I guess, for about maybe a year and a half, maybe. And then a gentleman came by to talk to my supervisor by the name of Roger Campbell. Now, Roger Campbell worked with Berry Gordy, that I did not know at the time. But he came to the VA and he spoke to my supervisor, and he was looking for someone to add to his security staff at the chairman's house, chairman meaning Berry Gordy's house. Roger approached me and said, I spoke to your supervisor and she thought that I should talk to you about a position that I have open. And I said, okay, fine. And so we started talking, and he said, I'd like to bring you over and introduce you to some people. Are you interested? I said, yes, I am interested. So as a result of that, he called me and we made an appointment. I went over to this place in Bel Air, which to me, I was a little bit taken back, Bel Air. He still didn't tell me who it was. Right. He gave me the address and said to meet him there at a certain time. I did. So anyway, I got to the house, and when you get to the gate, you push this button and you announce yourself, And I said, this is Earl Bryant here for Roger Campbell. So Roger said, come on up, Earl. So I drove on up, and he met me at the door. He said, come on in. So I was still taken back. I was trying to figure out, whose house is this? Where am I? What am I doing up here?
Like this super exclusive situation.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So as a result of that, we went inside, and then Roger introduced me to Les Peterson at that time, and Mario Escobar. Those two gentlemen worked with Roger. And then after he introduced me to everybody, Mr. Gordy came down the steps, and then he introduced me to Mr. Gordy. He said, I'd like to meet Mr. Gordy. Now, I was taken back because of the fact that that's the last person I expected to be at this house.
I can only imagine what must have been running through your mind at that point.
And so I shook his hand. He's a very, very personable person. And I shook his hand and said, glad to meet you, Mr. Gordon. He said, I'm glad to meet you too, Earl. He said, welcome to the team. I said, thank you, sir. So, and then he left and went on. And then Roger started talking. He said, look, as you know now, this is Berry Gordy's house. And you will be working here. So I started the night shift there. And then I left and I went back to the VA, and I spoke to my supervisor, and I thanked her for recommending me. And I gave her a hug. She said, Earl, I know you can do this. She said, you did this. Roger's a great person. I've known him for a long time, And she said, good luck. And if you need anything, let me know. I said, fine. So then I left, and so the following week, I was off for a week. The following week, I started at the chairman's house working that night. So I worked there maybe about a year, 2 years, something like that. And a job became available, I understood, at Motown in purchasing. And a gentleman by the name of Mr. Coleman was head of purchasing. So I called Roger first. I said, Roger, look, there's a position open at Motown for assistant director of purchasing. I said, I would like to apply for that. I said, what's your thoughts on that? He said, Earl, he said, that's a great idea. He said,
why not?
Why not? Try it. So I did, and I called up Mr. Coleman. I made an appointment with him. I told him I would like to interview for the job. So I came down one day and interviewed for the job, and then everything seemed to went well there for me. So as a result of that, I got the job. Actually, I got the job. And so I told Roger, and he said, okay, Earl, fine, man. He said, look, I'm glad to see that you expanding and you're moving. I said, thank you very much. So I took that job, which is a very interesting job as well, because in purchasing, it's mainly my job is inventorying everything within the complex of the Motown establishment. So I jumped in and learned it, and I was very proud of myself because I learned quite a bit about it. But then another job became available at Motown as director of security. The good thing about this is that this was Roger's wheelhouse. This was Roger Campbell's baby. He was in charge of security through all of the Motown, not only at the house, but also at the building on Argyle and Sunset. Oh, wow. So I called Roger up, a few years later. I said, Roger, there's an opening for director of security at Motown. He said, I really would like to apply for that. He said, Earl, fine. He said, why don't you do this? Let's talk about that. So I did, and he made an appointment. I went and talked to him about it, and he explained to me what the job was all about. And he said, well, the job is yours. Do you want that? I said, yes. So I started as director of security for Motown. So that was a very, very good experience for me. And also, here's another thing too. When I was opening up the office, there's a gentleman named Don Peake. Don Peake was the tour manager for all of the Motown acts. He used to take them out on the road, bring them back, so forth and so on. So that fascinated me. I was just fascinated with what Don did, So when I would go make my office visits around, I would stop and talk to Don Peake. And the good thing about it is that Don Peake, man, was so willing to let me know what he did. And it's not all in one setting, but every other, when I go around, if he's available and he have the time, he said, Earl, well, this is what I do. He said, I make room reservations, hotel reservations, I talk to the promoter, da, 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 da. I said, that's fantastic. I said, I would like to learn that. So he would teach me. He gave me some documents that he used, and he would tell me so I studied those documents. Now again, never knowing that one day I would be working with Smokey Robinson.
Okay, so I'd like to introduce you at this point to Don Peake. Don.
Hello, my name's Don Peake, as you know. My friend Earl Bryant from the 70s, 69, 70s. My gosh. I was hired by Motown in 70. But yeah, you used to come to the building. You used to come to the building and he would kick me out. He would, he said, are you still here?
Exactly.
But yeah, I had the privilege and honor of going to Motown University, as we called it, and worked with some of the finest artists, I think, in the world.
Well, you asked me about some of the great moments that I've had, that we've had. Well, after I became Smokey Robinson's tour manager, when we traveled, I would meet Don on the road sometime because he would be working with the Temptations or Four Tops or whomever, and I would be with Smoke, so our paths would cross, and that would be great for me because I don't get to see him that much because we work so hard, in different directions. So whenever I got the opportunity to see him and talk to him, it was fantastic. And even to this day, I still call him up on things if I need certain information. I still call him up, for advice and so forth. I do that, because I know I go to someone that knows what he's talking about and not someone who's guessing. Had he not took the time to teach me about tour management, I would not have been prepared when the opportunity presented itself. The fact that Don took the time, now Don, he was constantly busy. He was always in town, out of town, he's always doing stuff, but he took the time when I came into his office to sit down and explain to me what a tour manager job was, and because of him, I learned from the best, because he is one of the best, if not the best tour manager in the business. There's no doubt about that. I'm truly mean that. I contribute my longevity to what he taught me.
I just put the starting blocks behind his feet and held him. He was off.
Later on down the line, Randy Dunlap, who was Smokey Robinson's manager / tour manager at the time, and Randy and I were friends. So one day he approached me. He said, "Earl, how would you like to work as my assistant?" I said, "Okay." I said, "But I don't know what you do. I don't know anything about what you do." He said, "Well, I'm Smokey's manager / tour manager." And he said, "I would like to teach you the tour management. I would like to hire you as my assistant." He set up a meeting for me to go meet Smoke. So I went to Smokey's house and met him. And Smokey and I, we went into the room. At that time, they had this Pac-Man, he had one in his house, and he was playing Pac-Man when I walk in, man, and then I introduced myself. He said, "Hi, Earl." Well, I mean, he knew me, but I just said, "Hey, Smoke, what's happening?" He said, "Hi, Earl, how you doing?" He said, "I'll be through, have a seat, I'll be through in a minute." So he paid for Pac-Man, and then we started talking, and he just asked me, and surprising to me, Smokey, it wasn't really an interview from my perspective. You know what I mean? Not the type of interviews that I was used to.
Right.
You know, he just asked me a couple of questions. He said, you know, so have you ever worked at 2 minutes? I said no. I said, but I have some experience because you know, Randy has been teaching me and telling me, and then I've also been talking to Don Peake. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, okay, fine. He said, so did Randy explain to you in detail what needs to be done?
Yeah.
I said, he did, yes. And I said, I believe that I can handle this. He said, okay, fine. He said, well, as far as I'm concerned, you got a job as long as you want it. For him to say that to me really made an impression on me. Because most people, when they hire you, they don't say you got a job as long as you want it.
Right.
You're lucky if you got a job 6 months after they hire you. You know what I'm saying? So that was very impressive to me. That meant that he either saw something in me that he felt that he could make that statement, or he was banking on something about me that would make that to me in order to make that statement. So it was very impressive to me. So I said, okay, Smoke. I said, thanks a lot, man. I'm looking forward to working with you. He said, I'm looking forward to working with you too, Earl.
I can depend on him for whatever I need.
Right.
See, that's the great thing about it. If I don't have to worry about the odds and ends of whatever's going on the road or whatever's happening in the group and so on and so forth, because I know he's got it.
Smokey, you have been in the industry for over 5 decades in the business. Some have tasted, many only dream of your unsurmountable success. So what is it about Earl that, with your relationship, that has been withstood over the past 35 plus years?
He's my brother, and we're very close, and I depend on him for things that happen on the road and in my road life and that, you know.
Yeah.
So when you love somebody, it's easy to stay together. I mean, we've had our drag outs and knockdowns too, you know. But when you love somebody, it's easy to hang in there.
That's how I started working with Smokey as his assistant tour manager with Randy Dunlap. And then Randy left because he was opening a restaurant with his brother, so he decided to retire. So he did. And so I just took over the whole thing at that point. The reason why I said earlier is that Don Peake taught me on paper how to do that. Once I got out there and started doing it, it's a whole different ballgame. So this is Serge. Serge and I have known each other for many, many years. And whenever we come to Chicago and when we travel around, Serge works with us. He's handles Smokey in security, and he helps us tremendously everywhere we go, man. We come into the airport, he takes care of us from the time we hit the city until the time we leave, you know. He's with us. So he's a very, very invaluable individual, you know, to us.
As far as I'm concerned, I think me and Earl became brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
Since we've been together for about 37 years together, and we have grown to love each other very much, and there's not anything more important to us than that Smokey, taking care of Smokey, making sure that he's taken care of all the time.
So, Kenny, what I need to do is Smokey's last song is called Cruising, and then I need to make sure that he's going to pull 2 people from the audience on stage to end the show with him. So could you let security out front know that when those 2 people, when you choose those 2 people, to get them on stage as soon as possible?
No problem, we got it.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you, man.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Earl, while Smokey's out on stage, can you tell me, like, what do you do now that he's out on stage? And I know you have your security in place, but what is your job right now?
So right now what I'll do, I'll probably go and do my settlement, you know, take care of a couple things, get ready for us to depart, make sure that everything is ready for us to leave right after the show is over. Also, and start to get the guests, to prepare for the guests.
Also,
for his guests after the show.
I see. So there's people that come backstage and he'll sign autographs and things like that.
Right, he'll sign autographs and he'll meet different people.
How long does something like that usually take place?
Well, we usually try to...
Do you allow a certain amount of time?
Yes, about 15 to 20 minutes, 30 minutes is the max.
Okay. Smokey is a very, very down-to-earth person. You know, he's quite approachable. Most people don't realize that, but he's quite approachable. One of the things that I like about Smokey is he gave me the opportunity to learn. He gave me the opportunity to make mistakes without being all over me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now, granted, if there's a mistake that he thought was made that he thought we should talk about, if that mistake was made, he'll wait until he gets back to his room, or we get someplace isolated. He'll say, Earl, I need to talk to you about something. Okay. So then he said, look, you did this, but you know, maybe we could have done it a different way. You know, maybe next time, maybe think about it if you can do it a different way than we'll do it. Because obviously this way didn't work as well. The first day I traveled with Smokey, actually, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know which it is, but we were on our way to the airport and we were running just a little late.
Right.
And a couple of people recognized him and they wanted to take a picture with him and wanted him to sign something for them. But you know, being me and being on the job first time, you want to make sure that everything goes well. You know, and my job is to make sure that we get this flight so that we can get to our destination. So they were coming, hey, Smokey, could you sign this for me? Can I take a picture? And we were walking, I said, excuse me, I said, well, we're running late for a flight right now. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do that, but maybe next time, you know. So what Smokey did, and he stopped and he said, he did it. He said, look, he said, come on. He put his arms around and said, come on, take the picture. They took the picture, and then he signed a piece of paper for this lady, and then we was off to the gate, right? So then we got to the plane, we got on the plane, we were sitting next to each other, and he said, look, let me tell you, he said, you did a great job. He said, I know why you told him that. He said, but let me say something to you. He said, without those people out there, I wouldn't be sitting here. Without those people out there, you wouldn't be sitting here. He said, so I understand perfectly. He said, but next time, it only take a second for me to do that. He said, yes, we are running late, but it only take a second. And I know you want to make sure that we catch the flight and get where we're going. He said, that's good. He said, but the next time, let's just take the picture and just keep going. I try to learn as much about Smokey and his needs and his wants and certain things so that to make his life easier. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why I'm there. You know what I'm saying? I'm there. This man has been in business for 50 some odd years. He's done everything there is that can do as far as show business is concerned. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, how I look at it is that it's time for him to relax. You know what I mean? It's time for he's paid his dues. Right. So my job is to make sure that he's comfortable doing whatever he wants to do, whatever he needs to do, within reason. He was aware that I had no experience at no experience at all. Mm-hmm. You know, so he allowed me to feel my way through that. I'm a fast study, I really am. So it took me about five shows to really get the gist of what was really going on.
Before going on the road with Smokey, what was your career path you wanted to take?
Well, I always wanted to be a chef. Actually, I was a chef. I was a chef earlier in my life. At a place called Mango Hotel in Savannah, Georgia, where I grew up. Okay. I started off as an elevator driver, then a room service waiter, and then I went to second chef, which was great. So I always wanted to own my own restaurant. That's the main thing for me. And I would have been doing that now had it not been for this. But this came along, which wasn't something that I was looking for or pursue, but it was interesting to me. I love challenges. Right. That's another reason why I love what I do, because every city I go in, it's a challenge. Every time I get off the plane, it's always a challenge. No matter how much work you do advancing, when you get into a city, there's always going to be something there that needs to be done that should have been done before you got here.
Right.
You know? So I love those kind of challenges for me. But I would have been a chef and owned my own restaurant had I not been doing this. But I'm glad that I did. I used to have to pinch myself to see, is this really me? Is this really happening? You know. But I'm a firm believer that our lives are already predetermined. I do believe this. I mean, that's just my belief. And sometimes if you just let things go, it will guide you in the direction where you need to go. And when you try to pull away from that, things never happen the way they're supposed to, because they're trying to bring you back to where divine intervention want you to go. You know, for me, you know, and that's so. I'm a firm believer, and trust me, I've always believed in God. I'm a very religious person. I always believed in God, but I never thought of divine intervention of being able to take over for me. I make all of my decisions, but I know that I don't make all of my decisions. I didn't make this decision. My decision was to try to to save enough money to start a restaurant, which I could cook in. It would make me happy and ride off into the sunset. But divine intervention had something else in mind for me that he thought that would be perfect for me. And I followed him. I just let him take the lead and I followed him. And as a result, I ended up in a situation that most people would probably dream of. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
And I've been all over the world between my military career and working with Smokey Robinson. I've been all over the world. I've traveled places. I've been places most people probably would never go in their lifetime. You know, so I've had a great life. You know, I have a fantastic life. I can't complain about I wish I'd done this and I wish I'd done that, because I've had a great life. You know what I mean? And I just want to, and that's the reason why the book, I'm writing a book and I'm also doing a documentary. This is part of the documentary because I want my family, more than anyone, and other people to know about my journey in life, because I think it's important. You know, because a lot of times things happen with people and they can't quite figure out why this is happening. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's good to just let it happen.
Everybody, it is time for me to say goodbye. And believe me, I am so emotional about this because I've had such a great journey over the years working with Smokey Robinson and his entourage. I want to thank everybody in the band. I want to thank Karen. I want to thank Tony. I want to thank Carrie. I want to thank Amon. I want to thank Boogie. I want to thank Tony. I want to thank everybody. Kenny Giaffrey, Gary Foote, Brian French, Casey Carrier, Mitchell. I want to thank everybody in this organization because of you, I am a better person today. And I thank all of you for allowing me to share my life with you over the years. In particular, I would like to thank Smokey Robinson. Smokey Robinson gave me an opportunity to do something that I really didn't have any intention of doing. I've always wanted to open a restaurant, but God had a different path set for me and he took it. And that's why the name of my book I named Why Me? Because I do believe that he directed me to do what I have been doing over the last 30 plus years with Smokey. So once again, I'm off, I'm out of here, I'm leaving the building. Hasta la vista, goodbye, adios, talk to you soon.
I'd like to express my deepest gratitude and recognize all those who gave their time in the making of this documentary. First of all, to someone I've had the privilege of knowing for over 50 plus years, Mr. William Smokey Robinson, who allowed me access behind the scenes to make this happen, along with his contributing interview. The man of the hour, Earl Bryant, who allowed me to peer into his life and who this project is about. I would also like to extend a gracious thank you to the band members, Demetrius, Boogie, Tony, Kenny, Gary, and Savan, Smokey's angelic background singers, Karen, Serena, Lindsay, and Amon, the tech geniuses, Brian and Casey, and Mr. Security, Chicago's own Serge. This would not have happened without your kindness, your professionalism, your patience, and your friendship. I especially would like to send out a very heartfelt thank you to my wife of 35 years, Miss Kathleen, my daughter, Tay Alexandria, for her interviewing professionalism, my son, Ian Jones, my granddaughters, Alexis and Dakota, for their loving support. This was a 6-year project. We did it, guys. It's a wrap. From my heart, thank you all and blessings.